According to a person with knowledge of the situation, the players' union proposal would allegedly result in projected losses of $460 million over the life.
$460 million. That is the exact amount of money the WNBA is projected to lose if ownership caves to the latest unprecedented demands from the Players Association. Right now, this league is staring down the barrel of a catastrophic financial standoff that could completely cancel the 2026 season. We are witnessing superstar players issuing public ultimatums, ownership groups threatening to lock the doors, and a brand new alternative basketball league waiting in the shadows, ready to poach the best talent on the planet. But there is a massive, uncomfortable truth hidden inside these negotiations that no one in the mainstream sports media wants to admit on camera. The players are aggressively demanding a massive piece of a financial pie that was baked almost entirely by one single rookie. Before we dive into the disastrous math behind this impending WNBA lockout, listen to the exact rhetoric coming from the top executives of the Players Association.
Calling out the WNBA owners to a standoff for these CBA negotiations. She's basically saying, hey, somebody's gonna have to fold and it ain't gonna be us. This is the nasty rhetoric.
Somebody is going to have to fold. That is not a standard negotiation tactic. That is a declaration of war. Welcome to the business of modern sports, where the public relations statements mean absolutely nothing, and the money trail tells the entire story. Today, we are going to break down the exact economic flaw that is tearing the WNBA apart, the hidden agenda behind the new unrivaled league, and why billionaire Mark Cuban just stepped in to expose a fundamental reality that could either save women's professional basketball or destroy it forever. To truly understand why the WNBA is on the brink of an atomic collapse, we have to start with the match that lit this powder keg. Napheesa Collier is a five-time All-Star, a massive talent for the Minnesota Lynx, and the vice president of the WNBA Players Association. Recently, while doing an interview to promote a new partnership with Icy Hot, she completely abandoned the standard, media-trained script. She looked the billionaire owners in the eye through the media and dared them to blink. She stated that someone is going to have to fold, and it isn't going to be the players. But to understand why she is so brutally confident in daring the WNBA to a standoff, you have to look at her business portfolio. Collier isn't just a player. She is the co-founder of Unrivaled, a brand new, highly funded 3-on-3 women's basketball league specifically designed to keep players stateside and pay them massive money during the off-season. Do you see the glaring conflict of interest here? You have an executive of a direct competitor league sitting on the negotiating board of the WNBA Players Association, essentially telling the WNBA to fold. Financial analysts and critics are already asking the dangerous question: does she actually want a collective bargaining agreement to get done? Or does she want the WNBA to lock out the players? Because if the 2026 WNBA season is delayed or canceled, Unrivaled suddenly absorbs all the media attention, all the lucrative corporate sponsorships, and all the desperate players looking for a paycheck. It is a ruthless, brilliant chess move, but for the legacy of the WNBA, it is a ticking time bomb. So what exactly is the union demanding that has the owners ready to shut the whole operation down? The numbers are staggering, and they reveal a fundamental disconnect between what the players think the league is worth and what the balance sheets actually say. On Tuesday, the Players Union submitted a counterproposal in response to the league's February 7th submission. In this proposal, the players requested 25% of the league's gross revenue in the first year, escalating to an average of roughly 27.5% over the life of the agreement. On top of that, they are demanding a salary cap of nearly $9.5 million, plus continued, heavily subsidized housing concessions for early career players. Now, if you follow the NBA or the NFL, a 25% revenue split sounds incredibly low. Men's leagues usually operate on an even 50-50 split of basketball-related income. But you have to understand the brutal reality of WNBA profit margins. This is a league that has historically operated at a massive deficit for decades, heavily subsidized by the NBA just to keep the lights on and the doors open. The players are looking at the recent explosion of viewership, the sold-out arenas, and the skyrocketing merchandise sales, and they want their cut right now. They originally asked for 30% back in December, and they think dropping to 25% is a massive compromise. But the owners are looking at the actual operating costs, and the math spells absolute disaster. Listen to what happens if the owners actually sign this deal.
According to a person with knowledge of the situation, the players' union proposal would allegedly result in projected losses of $460 million over the lifetime of that agreement for WNBA teams. And you remember, it was at a $700 million loss for the 30%.
$460 million in projected losses over the lifetime of the agreement. You cannot run a sustainable sports franchise while bleeding $500 million just to appease a union. The owners actually countered with an offer that gives players over 70% of the league and team net value. Net value means the actual profits, but the players aggressively rejected it. They do not want a percentage of the profits because they know the operating profits are incredibly slim and in many markets completely non-existent. They want a percentage of the gross revenue, that is the top-line money, before the arena fees are paid, before the marketing budgets are cleared, before the front office staff is compensated, and before the massive new charter flight travel expenses are accounted for. And this brings us to the elephant in the room, the absolute core of this entire debate. Why is the gross revenue suddenly so high that the players are willing to risk their entire livelihood to get a piece of it right this second? The answer is 2 words.
We're all trying to eat out of Caitlyn Clark's pie. Let's be real here. Caitlyn Clark served this dish up on a platter for you guys like it was Thanksgiving, and all y'all doing is messing up the food at this point. Y'all messing up the food.
Caitlyn Clark. Before Clark brought her brand of economics to the professional level, the WNBA was struggling to give away tickets in half of their markets. Clark single-handedly sold out arenas across the entire country. She forced major television networks to rip up their programming schedules and put WNBA games in premium, primetime broadcast slots. She brought millions of new, rabidly dedicated eyeballs to the sport, generating a tidal wave of cash that the league had never seen in its 28-year history. The Players Association is effectively trying to leverage the Caitlyn Clark stimulus package to secure multi-million-dollar, long-term guaranteed contracts for the entire league. It is the equivalent of a struggling local theater hiring an A-list Hollywood megastar for one single play, and suddenly the stagehands, the understudies, and the lighting crew are demanding a 400% pay raise because ticket sales are up for that specific month. Yes, the pie is undeniably bigger, but the ownership groups are veteran businessmen and businesswomen. They refuse to lock themselves into $500 million of guaranteed debt based on a sudden, one-year economic anomaly caused by a single generational talent. They want to see if this growth is sustainable over 3 to 5 years before they start handing out the keys to the vault. So we have an unbreakable stalemate. The players demand cash that the league cannot afford to give without going bankrupt. How do you fix a fundamentally broken economic system? You bring in a billionaire who understands how to build one from scratch. Enter Mark Cuban. The former majority owner of the Dallas Mavericks took one look at the WNBA's financial structure, analyzed the complaints from the players, and exposed exactly why the current model is doomed to fail. Listen to this brutal reality check.
Here he said, the crazy part is that no matter what the WNBA does with salaries, every star college player will take a pay cut.
Every star college player will take a pay cut to play in the WNBA. Let that terrifying economic fact marinate in your mind. The professional league literally pays less than the amateur ranks. Cuban pointed out that top-tier college players in power conferences are currently pulling in anywhere from $500,000 to $1.2 million a year through name, image, and likeness deals. In college, their housing is paid for, their food is subsidized. They fly on private charters funded by mega donors. They are essentially treated like royalty, subsidized by massive alumni networks. But the moment they graduate and get drafted into the WNBA, they hit a massive financial wall. They enter a league where teams simply do not have the massive local television syndication deals or the insane ticket revenue margins that NBA franchises enjoy. WNBA teams simply cannot afford to cut million-dollar checks from their own operating cash flow without going out of business. The math does not work, and screaming at the owners will not magically make the money appear. But Cuban didn't just point out the problem. He offered a brilliant, paradigm-shifting solution that could end this standoff tomorrow. Instead of forcing the WNBA to bleed out by paying higher salaries from their gross revenue, the league needs to adopt the college NIL model. Let the individual WNBA franchises go to major local corporate sponsors and broker direct payments to the players. In the NBA, a team cannot legally approach a sponsor and say, "Hey, pay our star forward an extra $5 million so we don't hit the luxury tax." That is salary cap circumvention, and it is highly illegal under their collective bargaining agreement. But Cuban is arguing that the WNBA must allow exactly that. The league needs to make it legal, create a sponsor cap based on a player's years of experience. Let the teams use third-party corporate money to supplement the incredibly low base salaries. If a team in Indiana wants to pay their players more, let them go to a local tech company or a massive agricultural firm and have that company pay the player directly as part of a sponsorship package engineered by the team. This completely removes the financial burden from the WNBA owners while still getting the players the exact amount of money they are demanding. Critics immediately point out that this would destroy competitive balance. Big markets like New York and Los Angeles would have a massive advantage over smaller markets because they have a much larger addressable market of wealthy corporate sponsors. But Cuban has an answer for that too. The solution is revenue sharing. The WNBA could require that a percentage of all corporate NIL money goes into a centralized pool, which is then distributed evenly across the rest of the league. This is exactly what the NBA did with jersey patch advertisements. When teams started putting sponsor logos on their jerseys, they realized that the real value for a sponsor isn't just the local fans in the arena. The value is the national television broadcasts, the deep playoff runs, and the viral moments that sweep across social media algorithms. Therefore, that money is shared. The WNBA could do the exact same thing with direct player sponsorships. Mark Cuban is essentially looking at the players and the owners and saying, stop fighting over a tiny, shrinking pie. Change the rules of the game. Bring in outside corporate billions, and let those corporations foot the bill for player salaries. But until the collective bargaining agreement allows for this kind of aggressive, creative financial structuring, the players and owners are locked in a death spiral. And the clock is aggressively ticking. The regular season is scheduled to start on May 8th. But before that date, the league has a mountain of logistical nightmares to navigate. They have to execute expansion drafts for 2 brand new franchises in Toronto and Portland. They have to manage a chaotic free agency period, and they have to host the 2026 WNBA draft. None of this can happen smoothly if the players are threatening to walk out. As Nafisa Collier stated, the players want to play. They claim this is their livelihood and their passion. But their public rhetoric is alienating the exact fan base they need to survive. You cannot go on national media platforms, dare the owners to fold, demand a piece of a pie you didn't fully bake, and then expect the average working-class fan to blindly support a labor strike. If Collier and the Players Association refuse to back down, and if the billionaire owners refuse to absorb a $460 million catastrophic loss, the 2026 season will not happen. There will be a lockout. And the tragic irony is that by demanding what they believe they are owed right this second, the players might end up destroying the very platform that is finally making them famous. They risk alienating the millions of new fans who just showed up to watch Caitlyn Clark play, sending them right back to watching the NBA or college basketball. The NBA spent 40 years bleeding money, building its economic foundation, and suffering through brutal labor disputes before players started getting supermax contracts. The WNBA just got its first real taste of global mainstream success, and the union immediately demanded the vault be emptied. You cannot force a multi-billion-dollar economy into existence through a labor strike. The numbers have to make sense. And right now, the only thing making sense is the impending disaster. What do you think? Is the players' union being short-sighted and greedy, trying to cash in on an economic boom they didn't entirely create? Or are the WNBA owners hiding their true profits, weaponizing their accounting, and refusing to pay a fair wage to the athletes putting their bodies on the line? Drop your highly analytical take in the comments below. If you want to stay ahead of the curve on the real business of sports, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and turn on the bell notification. We do not do fluff on this channel. We follow the money. I will see you in the next breakdown.